NBA Outlet Preview Series presented by OTGBasketball.com. Be sure to follow OTG on Twitter at OTGBasketball. I'm your host, Nick Fay, and with me getting into the top five today, Harris Wichard. What's up, Harris?
What's up, Nick? Doing great today. Excited to join you for another episode of the OTG podcast series, getting into the top five now with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, Raptors coming in number 5. They finished second in the East last year. Pretty successful season. They did get knocked out by the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, but, successful year because you didn't think they're going to pass LeBron. I'm pretty good with this number 5 ranking. What about you, Harris?
Well, I think Drake would want us to put them a little bit higher, but I think this is right where they need to be. I'm really high on their backcourt with Lowry and DeRozan and the way they played. And in the postseason, they were struggling at times. It was very high and low, if you remember, for this backcourt, and they couldn't really figure it out. But to win 56 games throughout the regular season, and like I said, they have their super fans. They have the biggest name in music that sits courtside for every game and tries to coach the team. And I know Dwayne Casey really appreciates that very much from Drake. But this is a good young team. They have opportunity for growth. It's a very, very enthusiastic fan base north of the border. And I think they have to be very excited about what they have here in Toronto now in an NBA that is expanding into what we spoke about with spacing the floor. They have a couple guys who could do that very well.
Well, and the exciting thing for Toronto is, they made the big signing with DeMarre Carroll last year. But Carroll missed a ton of games, and he wasn't 100% in the playoffs. So if they can get him for a full season, I think that'll make a difference. He kind of fits that small ball NBA because he could definitely play some minutes at the 4. Also, you saw this team kind of make a push to become a really good defensive team last year. Some of the signings they made and just overall a team effort to become a good defensive team. So if they can open it up more offensively, they'll be a well-balanced attack, and they can hit you from both sides.
Valanciunas is an interesting piece too, and I'll let you get into the additions and talk about who they picked up and who departed. But Valanciunas is an interesting piece to look at as we talk about the Raptors throughout this podcast.
Yeah, you always feel like he can be better, and you always hear about the potential of Valanciunas. There's also a little health concern, but he's another guy. He gives him a unique talent inside. But let's talk about offseason moves. They didn't have a ton of moves. They did have 2 draft picks, Jacob Patel and Pascam Sakim. So what do you think of those moves? You think that any of these guys are going to have instant impact draft-wise?
This is truly one of the all-name teams in the NBA. Just to put that out, because they got Cabal, Utah, Valanciunas, Van Vliet. They get Fred Van Vliet, the undrafted kid from Wichita State, I think could get minutes on this team. I haven't followed the Raptors a ton in the preseason, but no, in all seriousness, I don't know a lot about their pickups. Again, the kid's a first-round pick from Utah, the 9th pick, as you mentioned. So you take a look at him, and I don't know. He's from Utah. He's a center. He's 250, big body in the paint. He's a 7-footer. So they needed size. I think they need some front court. He turned some heads a little bit in the summer league. He played some good minutes for them. Shot about 65% from the field and had 7 rebounds a game in 25 minutes. So he did some nice things in the summer league, and so hopefully that gives them another option other than Valanciunas, because we know about their backcourt. We know that DeRozan and Lowry are all-star level players. They just won an Olympic gold medal, and they've been shown a lot of love. They're coming off the best season in franchise history. They won 56 games, which they had never won 50 games before. Now, they had Carter for a while back in the day and got to the playoffs a few times, but never had gotten to the conference final. So this was history in the making for the Raptors. So they had some size, some much-needed size, and hopefully that will give them the front court edge, because I would say outside of maybe the Warriors, they have the edge in the backcourt almost every single night.
Yeah, very true. And there could be some minutes opening up in the front court. But free agent-wise, the Raptors didn't really pick anybody up. They signed Jared Sullinger. How do you feel about that move?
I like Sully. I don't know if he fit what Boston was doing as far as his size and the speed. I always think he needs to trim a little bit to fit into today's style. But he could shoot it a little bit, a little underrated, could stretch the floor a little bit. Take a look at what he did last season, and he was solid at times for the Celtics. But I think he had a better year in 15 than he did in 16, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he averaged 3 more points in 15 than he did in 16, played 4 more minutes a game. So I think they used him a little bit more the prior year. But I think he could be a nice fit here. I don't know if he will start. You could correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But if they went with a lineup of Lowry, DeRozan, Carroll, Sullinger, Valanciunas, that could be something that could potentially push more than what they did last year. But as we go forward in the podcast, I'll give you my feel of I don't know if they could top what they did last season.
Yeah, the thing about Sullinger that makes him kind of an interesting player is, like you mentioned, he's a little overweight. And if he just kind of cut down and got in better shape, you could see his game improve, and that's kind of been an issue for him. It would definitely help him out defensively. Offensively, he's a talented player. So I think he gives them more talent in their starting lineup, but I don't know how great of a defender he is. But talking about departures, they did lose some defense. They lost Bismack Biyombo, who stepped up big in the playoffs. James Johnson, he was in the doghouse a lot of the season. Luis Scola played some good minutes for them. He started a lot of games at the 4, and they also lost Jason Thompson. Out of these guys, who's this team gonna miss?
Well, Biyombo the most. I think you hit it right on the head. This is a guy that he kind of developed some of that Dikembe Mutombo swagger in the paint with his ability to block shots and turn people away. And so I would think that would be one of the losses that would hurt the most, because this is a team, like I said, defensively is solid. Lowry and DeRozan both take the defensive end seriously, and they're both pretty solid. So when you have and you know what, Lowry does get beat a little bit off the dribble, but DeRozan for the most part is okay. But there were some perimeter issues at times in the postseason, and Biyombo is a guy that could cover up some of your problems. And when you lose a guy like that, it could really hurt you defensively. So I'm looking for other guys that will be able to step up and fill that void for the Raptors.
Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, they made that push to be a strong defensive team, and Biyombo fit that build. So I think they'll lose him. They'll probably miss Luis Scola a little bit. He gave them some solid scoring. He also added a 3-point shot to his game, kind of stretched the floor. They'll probably use Sullinger to fill that role. So overall, it's tough to say if the Raptors are going to be better than last season or worse, but I'm going to ask you, better or worse season for the Raptors?
I think right around I think it's okay to expect them to be right around the same. Would it shock me if they had like a 60-22 season? No, I don't think it would shock me, because these are the guys that have had the experience and are comfortable. But realistically speaking, I think they'll be right around the same, maybe a couple games worse. I'd say like 53, 54 would be fine. But I'm not somebody that likes to doubt teams. I would just give my prediction here on a top 5 team in the NBA, 2 all-stars on their team. Valanciunas could have a sick first half and maybe be an all-star, but they have 2 all-stars on their team. And we're getting to those teams that have multiple all-stars now, 2, 3, 4 all-stars. You got Golden State with 4 and the Cavs with 3. So this team has 2 all-stars, and they could win 50+, but I just think they might take one step back this year.
Yeah, I'd probably say I'm going to agree with you, the fact that I think they'll be right around the same. Yeah. They have the potential to be a little bit better because DeMar Carroll will play all season. So if he's healthy, and then it'll be interesting to see how Sullinger fits. But I think the addition of DeMar Carroll, if he's healthy all year long, gives him another element on this team. Another good perimeter defender, another solid offensive player.
Absolutely.
Somebody who can really complement Lowry and DeRozan.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to need him to be healthy.
Exactly. Final prediction for this team.
54-28, the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think the Celtics, I don't know what I said for the win total on the Celtics. So I probably messed around and said a couple different. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think 1, 2, 3 is going to be Cavs Celtics before the Raptors.
This is tough. For some reason, I feel like the Raptors are going to hold that number 2 spot.
Okay.
I think the Celtics are going to take just a touch of time to adjust. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they are at the end of the season as they are at the start. So I could see the Raptors holding on and keeping that 2 seed all year round.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, this is the problem, I think. Brad Stevens is a better coach than Dwayne Casey. I think we could agree on that. So I think maybe the Raptors roster is definitely better at this point, and they have more playoff experience. But I think Stevens, in another year after taking this team to the playoffs in consecutive seasons now, is going to have them playing. I mean, either way, we're going to get this second-round matchup, I think. I think we're going to get this second-round matchup because 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3 on the wins. So I think we could potentially get a Raptors Celtics, which would be a fun thing to watch. And I think this is going to be a good matchup throughout the season also, because a lot of people believe the Pacers are right there, but I think the Pacers are still a step away from these three teams. It's the Cavs in their own category, but I think if you look at the Raptors and Celtics, those are two of the teams that are going to be fighting for what would be second place to LeBron James. And I think that's going to be fun to watch all year because you got Isaiah Thomas Bradley, you got the Lowry, DeRozan, and then the front courts. This could be a cool matchup throughout the season.
Yeah, it could be a cool matchup. And like you said, I think Brad Stevens is a better coach over Dwayne Casey, but the Raptors probably a little bit more talented. At least they have those two all-stars that, well, I guess, the Celtics have two all-stars now, and Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford, but I feel like just a little bit more talented on the Raptors, and just,
I think so.
And they're coming over from another season. They already had success last year at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's still LeBron's East.
Yep.
So I think second round knockout for this team because they do struggle in the playoffs. They could have easily been knocked out in the first round by the Pacers last year.
I don't think they would get. I don't think they're going to get back to the conference finals. I don't think so. And listen, it could happen. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like every year there's the only thing that doesn't change is LeBron. So like, let's take a look all the way back to 2010. It was the Celtics there, and then 11 it was, I don't remember 11, but 12 I remember the Celtics. Maybe it was the Magic in 11 or something like that. But
that sounds. I think you're right.
Yeah, but that was LeBron playing the Heat against maybe the Pacers, but it was the Pacers, then it was the Celtics, then it was the Hawks, then it was the But it's just like it's a revolving door. There's no consistency. I mean, the Pacers for a couple years had some consistency, but there's no true rivalry in the Eastern Conference. LeBron James is by far, in a way, the most talented player in the Eastern Conference. So there's no steadiness in everybody else's franchise besides the one that he's on. And so I think that for the Raptors, maybe to establish that as their top gun, the top rival is, going to be interesting to see if they can accomplish that goal.
Yeah. I mean, if they can get the second seed and get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're building towards that. I think they had them in 6 games. They lasted 6 games against the Cavs, which is probably more than I thought they would. I probably thought they'd get swept. I think that's what I predicted. I mean, it wasn't like a really scary 6 games for the Cavs. At no point did you really think they're going to lose a series, but getting back there and maybe pushing them 7 could definitely do something good for this team and this, this organization.
Yeah, without question. I mean, it's one of those situations where if they could fulfill some of their potential in not only the backcourt, but the front court as well. And like you said, they had some additions in the front court that Sullinger and some of their draft picks, they're going to have to fill the void that not only Biyombo left, but that's going to have to battle with Cleveland and with Boston in their rebounding, because I think some nights Toronto got beat on the glass.
Very true. So on to League Pass for this team. Are you going to watch the Raptors this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a big Villanova fan. I'm a big fan of Jay Wright. I went to that basketball camp when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And Jay Wright's a really, really nice guy, man. He really is. As cool as a customer as there ever may have been in the world after that buzzer beater in the national championship game against who they play now? North Carolina. So I like Kyle Lowry, the Villanova product. He played on that team that I really liked with all those great guards like Foy and Randy Foy and what's his name? Allen Ray. So I like all the Villanova guards, and so I like Lowry a lot. I like DeRozan a lot. I'll definitely tune into this team, and the NBA is definitely in agreement with me with some ESPN and NBA TV games, but not as much as you would think for a top 5 team. There have been teams that people want to see more of, but all their games against Cleveland, Golden State again. So they'll be on TV a little bit, but I would think they would be on TV a little more. But I'll watch them because they have 2 of the finer guards in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they play the Nets a good amount. They play the Knicks a good amount. I'll catch out those games. But I don't know. Lowry just annoys me for some reason.
Yeah.
He's a very good player, but I don't know. He just annoys me.
He's tough, though. He's a tough guy.
Yeah, he's a tough guy, but he also, I don't know. Just, I don't know what to say, but I'll probably still catch some of the games. Like you said, they're a good team. They're going to match up well against some of the other good teams in the NBA. So, and they're a fun watch. Yeah,
they play up tempo. They're not boring. They'll take some threes. They'll stretch the floor. And I know what you're saying about Lowry. He's like a bulldog sometimes. He's just like a little out of control maybe. But I think I understand where you're coming from with it because he's like, I'm an undersized guard. Like he's like Lillard's little brother, I think. Like Lillard's a better player than Lowry.
Yeah. But Lowry he could have just as big an impact on the game just because of, like you mentioned, his energy and his like little undersized chip on his shoulder grit that he has. It kind of like gives another element because Lillard's not the same defender that Lowry is.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the same energy
but Lillard has more length too. So like he's in the
and he's a better offensive player. But yeah,
but he's in the I guess so. I mean, I would take Lillard on my team before Lowry. I think.
Yeah, going forward, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
And Lillard also has that like clutch factor. Lowry's also struggled in the playoffs. I know he was injured last year, but he hasn't come through in the clutch.
Yeah, Lillard, like we talked about on the Blazers pod, he's top 3 as far as guys I want with the ball in my hands at the end of the game.
Exactly. All right, that wraps it up for League Pass, though. On to the truth. Harris, what's our emoji for the Raptors?
I'm going to go with the 2 hands together in the prayer, and I'm not saying this because it's a bad thing, because I think in this situation, the Raptors are in a good spot moving forward. It's the best position they've been in a long time, maybe ever. But I think you just need some luck. You need some luck. I mean, in order for this thing to go to the finals, which I think the Raptors have championship aspirations, all the teams in the top 5 do, you need some luck. So I think it's the prayer, and it's praying to God that I don't, I'm never a guy that's like, oh, I want to see this guy get hurt. I want to see this guy get hurt. But sometimes in order to beat a team like Cleveland, you need a break. And, not a negative. I mean, I didn't mean that in like an injury way. I mean, like, you need Kevin Love to shoot 0 for 10 from 3 in game 3. You need, LeBron James to be off. You need, if they're going to get back to the conference final, I just think they need some luck.
Yeah, they need to hope for something to happen. Or even if they want to get to the NBA finals, it's going to take some luck. I think they have the talent if LeBron wasn't here. They possibly could be the best team in the East. But with the Cavs and LeBron and Kyrie and Love and Thompson and all the pieces they have, it's hard to imagine this team beating them.
It's going to be a fun game Friday, October 28th. Which is crazy because it's only 12 days away, which is great. The season's upon us, Nick. But on October 26th, they open up against the Pistons. They open up 3 games in a row at home. Then on October 28th, Friday, they get the Cavs at home on an ESPN Friday night game. So that's going to be a one I'll probably tune into that game.
Yeah, definitely check that game out. See how the Raptors are doing early on in the season. We mentioned it a million times on the preview series.
Yeah.
Early momentum helps a lot, especially when you get a
first time. Sean Marks talks about it, the new GM of the Nets. He goes, "We're going to look at this in blocks of 5." And that's a smart way to break it down. It's like, okay, we're 3-2. Let's go to the next 5. We're 2-3. I mean, you look at our schedule, their first 10. I mean, like I said, 3 games at home, and then Washington, Miami, Sacramento. So an opportunity for the Raptors to get off to a nice start, and then they get like the Thunder and Warriors. They do play them in November also. But I talked to the first 20 games in NBA season. I think if you look outside of maybe the Heat going 9-8 that year when they made the finals, if you look at championship teams, you would struggle to find teams that are playing 500 ball after 20 games. I think teams that are championship teams are playing 655, at least 550, probably 600 ball through December. So I think I remember the Celtics one year were like 27-2. Obviously, we know about the Warriors start last year being 24-0. So it's, you want to get off to a fast start. You absolutely do.
It makes your life a lot easier. And then you always have the advantage that you could rest players. That's something that the Warriors are able to do where other teams with big leads.
Yeah. The Warriors were chasing something last year, so they didn't really. And I don't mind.
But they didn't overplay anybody either. So
Curry getting hurt was like a freak thing. I mean, he wasn't even playing a lot of minutes. They were beating teams after 3 quarters. So when he was sitting out, it wasn't like he was sitting out because, he wanted to sit out. He played in like 80 games. So him getting injured in the playoffs, like people look at that and they're like, oh man, they shouldn't have went for the record. Yes, they should have, because he didn't play in a lot of minutes. So that injury was freak. I also think if he was healthy, they would have had a much better shot to finish that series, but it just happened the way it happened. And I don't believe in the whole rest thing. I think if you're in a rhythm, just go out and play basketball. I mean, this is what you're paid to do. I don't like the whole sit 10, 15 games. If you're giving me a paycheck, I want to play. So I don't know. I look at it in a different way.
Well, it also depends on, the player's age and stuff.
Yeah,
if they have like a minor injury and, you might not rest them if you need to win. Yeah. But if you have the advantage too, you know how it is. If you have an injury and you can get rid of it quicker or have that thing linger on, you want to get rid of it quick. And that means missing one game.
I guess I'm speaking from a competitor standpoint. I didn't miss a game in high school or college and missed like one practice in 8 years. So I just, from a competitor standpoint, I just always want to be out there, man. And I think some of these guys today, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but I think there's just this whole new mentality of, I'm going to go and I'm going to play 65 games. I love the guys that play 82, man. I love those guys.
I can see some guys taking advantage of it for sure.
Yeah.
But that wraps it up for the Raptors. No pun intended. Catch you guys next episode. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, guys, again, appreciate all the support, and it's been really special, this preview series, and we're really looking forward to the season. So again, to all the writers, the staff, and all the fans and people that have supported us, really, really do appreciate that.